speaker is Richard Hansen, the president of California Community College Independence.
Thanks, Ron. You're going to be a very hard act to follow. And I am, after all, an academic. I teach math at De Anza College, but I'm also the local union president down there at Foothill De Anza, and actually Ron and I know each other back from our work together in that district. I since have become the president of the California Community College Independence. We're a group of unions that are independent of other organizations. And I started working in the state level as president of FAC. That's the Faculty Association of California Community Colleges. And actually, at the time I started in that role, that was when the new accrediting standards were coming out to the public from the commission. And Ron, you spoke about that briefly, the change. I agree totally with the way you described that change. I'd like to thank Congresswoman Spear for getting this together. Who initiated, I think, the effort to do this, and I'm glad that Congresswoman, as she was able to join. And I'm here with the California Community College Independence, partly because we went to Jim Bell and asked him about doing an audit. It was an idea that had been kicking around for a while, and it's I'll make some comments that will indicate how that happened. But he picked it up right away, yes, and his colleague, State Senator Nielsen, did a fabulous job. It took some work to get it through that committee, but we did achieve that. And Assemblyman Gramiano, thanks for your support that day. It was great. And we also had support from all the other faculty groups, so my comments are really going to be from a faculty perspective. In the early 2000s, there were new standards that started. 2003, maybe it was a year before that. Your data started in 2003. They were controversial from the beginning, and everything centered in the faculty world around SLOs, student learning outcomes, to which faculty respond, I test my students, I know how well they're doing, it's part of what I do every day. Why do I now have to add on to all of the work that I do, create these new student learning outcome, basically questions on a test of some sort, and then do another measurement, have another measuring device. So from the very beginning, we were very skeptical. The other thing about it is that it was a new set of standards that would be based upon supposedly data collection. And one obvious question, in math, maybe this isn't such a bad or hard thing to do. We could ask a math question, see how our students do, and report some percentage of success. But in a more subtle class, literature class, social issues class, that's a whole lot harder to do. And then also, how do you collect data on the role of your library in student learning? Very difficult questions that were asked at the time and still really haven't been answered, and that's part of the problem. Right from the very beginning, no one knew how you would pass muster with the Accrediting Commission. Everything was wide open. It was kind of and they said, well, we'll develop that as time goes on. Well, in fact, that sort of has happened. And what we do among the community colleges, we go, well, what did you do on this question? And the college will say, oh, well, we did this, and it seemed to pass. So that college then would model that behavior and hope that when they came to their time to be accredited, that would still be something that was worthy of passage with the standards. I'm in the collective bargaining area. There were parts of the new standards that infringed on things that are collectively bargained. That is, the faculty union gets together with the administration and comes to a level of agreement about how to proceed on these things, and you sign it off on a contract. It's a good working relationship. Faculty are very involved in how their colleges run. We have a thing called shared or participatory governance, and this is just part of it. We had issues there about how these new standards seem to impinge upon our rights to collectively bargain. And we kind of were waiting to see how this all played out, because if there ever were a clear violation of collective bargaining, we thought, then we'll take them to court. But it's been a slow, progressive process. Things have happened. The Academic Senate and other faculty have gotten on board to some degree with the new standards, and we started to try to find ways to comply. And so that issue didn't come. Instead, what's being done to San Francisco City College has really brought us all to the point where, as Ron says, it's time to do something. And frankly, I've always thought it would be the collective bargaining group that would be the ones to do it, whether it was through our own lawsuit over some technical issue about collective bargaining or something huger like this. But in fact, most of the lawsuits that you see going forward are coming through CFT in defense of the local union here at City College. And it was a long time coming, but we're all totally involved in that now. So one point I wanted to make here is that Chancellor Galatola has been kind of out there passionately advocating on this issue, and we have to thank him for it. Why is he not joined by more colleagues? They live in an intimidating situation here about, should they stick their neck out, then the Accrediting Commission can turn on them. Because again, these standards are a bit amorphous. Even if they were clear, Chancellor Galatola is right. They go into the closed room and you don't know what's going to come out. Big issue actually for City College right now. The points of all of those 14 points, well, there used to be 6, and they referred to those 6 over the last 6 years. Well, it wasn't ever clear of whether those were do or die requirements or just recommendations, because when you go through this study, you get a lot of recommendations. You need to highlight those. If I'm teaching, I have something my students have to do. I put a red box around it and exclamation points to make sure they know this is a critical issue. Make sure you're on top of it.
Mr. Hanson, can you wrap up?
I will. They haven't done that, so that's problematic. So what I really wanted to say, so I'll wrap up with some generalities. The uncertainty is a big problem. Also, community college funding is also a problem because this all costs money. Colleges need to hire data analysts, data collectors. Faculty have to spend additional time doing all the collection of their SLOs and doing program reviews. I've been in conversations just this week about those very issues. Foothill College is planning to hire another administrator, so there's administrative costs to help with this effort. And the big crunch now has come down during years when our budgets were deeply, deeply cut by the state. So you're being asked to do so much with so little, and there's no give and take with the Accrediting Commission. It's absolute. Their ruling is final. This is the way they see it. There's no taking into account what the colleges are struggling through.
Okay, Mr. Hanson, we're really going to have to
wrap
it up. All right, I'm going to ask everyone to really stick to 4 minutes now because we've got 35 minutes worth of speakers still, and that's before we even get to the audience, and we're scheduled to be finished at 2:30, so that's obviously not happening. So if you would, please keep your comments to 4 minutes. Josh Penholt, who's the president of the California Federation of Teachers.
On behalf of our members and Californians concerned about public education, I want to thank you for holding this hearing on the crisis of survival faced by students, faculty, and staff at City College of San Francisco, and the destructive role the Accrediting Commission for Community and Junior Colleges has played in the community college world. I believe it bears remembering that the community college system of California is not only the most ambitious effort to provide higher education anywhere in this country, but it speaks to the democratic and egalitarian commitment made by legislators, educators, and Governor Pat Brown many years ago. Our community colleges bridge the gap for working class students and students of color who have historically been excluded from higher education to take the next step in the pursuit of an advanced degree. It has also been the place where workers can improve their skills in the marketplace. Immigrants can improve language skills, and our seniors have avenues for healthy and fulfilling lives even in their retirement years. No place exemplifies the mission of community colleges better than City College of San Francisco, where today more than 85,000 students attend. City College's record of academic excellence has never been in doubt, and even the ACCJC never questioned the academic program at the college. And yet today we face a situation where this outstanding academic institution, a cornerstone in San Francisco and the Bay Area, is looking at shutting its doors because the ACCJC has pulled the plug on its accreditation. Never mind the fact that its academic program has never been questioned. Never mind the fact that 85,000 students will have to go elsewhere for community college. Never mind that this college generates more than $250 million in revenue for this community. This is like going to see your physician for a broken limb and the doctor says, "I'm going to rip your heart out as the remedy." The City College has issues that need to be addressed, and the faculty, administration, students, and staff are taking steps to do so. But they don't need to be told that the institution will be closed and education denied to 85,000 students if they are not taken care of on an arbitrary and totally unreasonable timeline. What has happened to City College speaks to a broader concern about the role of the ACCJC. For some time now, those most involved in the community college world have viewed the ACCJC as an organization that has bullied, intimidated, and stifled criticism. Because of the climate of fear and intimidation, it has been difficult to get community college leaders to stand up and be heard. Over and over again, we heard privately that no one wanted to raise his or her voice publicly for fear that there would be reprisals. Because of course there had been reprisals. But finally the climate of fear has been lifted due to the work of heroic individuals and organizations that have been willing to speak out. Beginning in August, those concerns have now been validated many times over. First, the U.S. Department of Education agreed with key elements of the CFT and AFT's 2121 third-party complaint. Then the Joint Legislative Auditing Committee of the California Legislature accepted the proposal of Senators Bell and Nielsen to audit the commission and expose the arrogant behavior of the commission president, Bino. Then the city attorney of San Francisco filed a lawsuit, followed by our own lawsuit, and now San Mateo Chancellor Galatolo has spoken out against ACCJC. Let me be clear. We welcome the need to review the academic program at higher education institutions. This is a vital part of both ensuring academic excellence and continually raising the bar at our schools. But we need a commitment to openness, transparency, and accountability that will lead to an inclusive and collaborative, not compliance-driven and punitive process. Further, we need real conflict of interest rules that avoid those cited in our third-party complaint and validated by the Department of Education. We need real due process for colleges and the public so that our schools can look at the evaluation from visiting teams and can either respond or appeal those assessments before the final decision is made. Faculty should comprise a majority of the membership on evaluation teams, and there should be a better selection process. The voice of faculty is essential, both as experts in the classroom, but also as members of school communities. We are not the enemy. We want our schools to be better, and we have ideas on how to make them better. We should give our community colleges the freedom to select a regional accreditor and eliminate the monopoly of ACCJC. Any college should be free to select any accreditor it wants. The geographic region covered by ACCJC and WASC is the only region that has separate commissions for both 2-year and 4-year institutions. We have other recommendations and we would be happy to provide those. Finally, let me say that your involvement here today gives us hope. As you will hear from other speakers, we have a mountain of evidence on the illegal and unethical role played by ACCJC, which has hurt our community colleges, wasted taxpayer dollars, and driven away students. And if you would like more information, please go to the CFT website where we have a mountain of information. With your attention and the growing concern from educators, legislators, students, faculty, and staff, we can return accreditation to City College, end the reign of terror of ACCJC, and restore the fair accrediting process we need to help nurture improvement in our colleges rather than threaten their existence. Thank you.
Local 2121.
I'd like to thank Congresswoman Spira Neshu and Senator Bell, and a special shout out, in fact, to Assemblymember Tom Amiano, who was in fact one of the first elected officials to really stand up for city colleges. Luckily, the extraordinary comments that have gone before, and I know some that will come after, are fantastic, and it makes such a difference to hear so much of what folks in this room already had known and suspected and researched and understood reflected back, and new information come at us that supports what we have stood up and tried to say. And for a while it felt like we were a voice in the wilderness, and it no longer feels that way, and that's extraordinary. I just want to take a brief moment, because people know, many people know, that we have been working as a faculty union and as a faculty on many of the issues around fair accreditation. But there's a story that really hasn't been told very publicly, and that's the story of how hard faculty here have been working on City College of San Francisco, on meeting the standards, on working to ensure at every level that we retain our accreditation. And so that story has frequently been lost, and I want to take a moment to highlight just a couple of things. We have been addressing ACCJC's directives, even while disagreeing with a number of the recommendations, and while we've been doing this work of pointing out that the ACCJC's recharacterization of its so-called recommendations into deficiencies. In 2006, we were told that we had some recommendations, just like when I grade student papers and I give someone an A. I often make recommendations for how they can be better. That's different than, you don't do this and you won't pass the class, and maybe I'll throw you out of school. So that and as we've pointed out, that and many other things that are problems with the accreditation process, and unfair, and in fact dishonest and illegal. We have also been working very hard at City College of San Francisco. So in July 2012, when we were given a show cause sanction, I want to highlight two things that faculty in particular worked to do. The first thing, not necessarily in this order, was that we worked to shore up the college's financial resources. That was an issue. It should no longer be an issue, because with tremendous work from many at the college, we were able to not only help pass Proposition 30 and bring money back to all of California education, but we also helped to pass Proposition A, which San Francisco supported at 73% of the vote. Filled the hole that was there in our financial resources. That doesn't mean that there weren't other financial issues around tracking and various other things that the college needed to improve on, but it should have filled the hole. That hole is now a gaping cavern caused by the enrollment loss that we are seeing, and a future next year that could be $26 million in the hole, and we've already lost many millions of dollars. So that hole, unfortunately, is a hole that we were not able to have an impact on so far. Also, we spent a tremendous amount of time at the college, faculty, staff, administrators, students. Sometimes they weren't allowed, but we tried to work hard to ensure that students had a voice as well, to work on a significant number of work groups. Thousands of hours went into working to meet the ACCJC recommendations. So I just want to take a moment to say, if you are a faculty, staff, or student in the room and you participated in some way in helping the college meet its SLOs, sat on work groups, or in some other way have been working to help the college meet the recommendations, or rather the requirements, of the ACCJC, could you please raise your hand? We have been working extremely hard. We've done work on the accreditation standards. We have been working to expose the unjust practices of the ACCJC, and we've been doing both of those things while we have continued to do what we believe is by far the most important thing, which is the work of educating students. And we do a good job of it.
Ms. Messer, can you conclude your comments, please?
Absolutely. So the problems with our accreditation and ensuring that we have a fair accreditation are much larger than City College of San Francisco, but it is also clear that we have not gotten a fair shake here, that it's been, that we have not seen a fair accreditation process, and the disaccreditation that we were told about in July of 2013 should not stand and must be changed. Thank you.
Chancellor Galatola just made a comment to me that I think really requires repeating. There had been about a 20% loss in the student body here over the last 2 years at City College, and they haven't gone to community colleges in San Mateo County. So the question is, have they gone anywhere, or are they just gone? And I think that's a very serious concern that we need to think about. All right, next is David Yancey, AFT, CFT, local, my eyeglasses aren't on. 6157. 6167 San Jose. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all the dignitaries here. It's really sort of quite an honor to sit at this dais with such powerful people. I'm just a faculty member, and I teach history and political science at San Jose City College. I'm the president of that teachers union. We got off sanction after 4 years this last February. And we were on sanction for all the reasons that you are, and none of it had to do with the quality of the education that we were providing. And that's sort of the sick, sad sort of result of this accrediting agency that we have in this state today. One of the things that I want to make clear is there's a cost to all of this work. I mean, a lot of folks raise their hands, and there's a lot of people here who've done a lot of work, and my colleague Lisa has just been magnificent, I think, as the leader of this union and this effort here at City College, and I really do want to thank her for that. And thank all of you. I talked to the fiscal folks at our campus, because they're as frustrated as anybody else, and I said, how much is this costing us in our district? How much? And they said, well, we don't have a budget line to say exactly, but anecdotally, I can tell you it's millions. We're spending millions of dollars over the last 4 years to meet these accreditation standards that had nothing to do with the quality of our educational offerings. And in keeping with some of the comments we've heard today about the cowering of our leadership at our colleges, and thank goodness for the Chancellor Galatola, I am so impressed. That DNA and injected in all these other folks and see if we can go up there. I am so happy to see him speak out. In our district, they're not. Our district is still cowering and for fear of retaliation, even though we're not on sanction. They just completed a redesign, which is a way to sort of say reorg, you know. And they've come up with a recommendation of 143 new administrative and classified supervisors positions. And if that's not bad enough, here's the kicker. Not a single faculty position was included in that redesign. Now, the only reason there are some now is because we sort of started raising all sorts of heck. We went to board meetings and we started doing our campaigning, and the union spoke loudly there, and now they've got about 20 faculty in that and 143 administrators. So there's an absolute pattern here. You know, they don't care about education, they don't care about the quality of it, they want administrator structure, they want more administrators, and there's a cost to all of that, folks. There's an absolute cost. Now let me be clear. There's not a faculty member I know, none in my union and none in Elisa's union, none in all the classrooms around this state, who object to a fair sort of evaluation. None of us are against sort of collaborative criticism. We're all, as somebody said, imperfect. And we can be better, and we ought to look to be better. But it ought not to be, you know, with the sort of Damocles hanging over your head. This has got to be a more collaborative, more constructive sort of way of making us better. The one thing all of the faculty want is to provide a good quality public education to our students. That's what we're about. That's why we do this work. You don't do this work to get rich. You do this work because you love it. So Geez, you'll tell teacher stop talking. Okay. Well, I will wrap up with this. Again, I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to tell you that you're not alone. I want to tell you that every community college and the California Federation of Teachers has got your back, and we're going to continue this fight until we win it.
Williams, student trustee.
The tides are turning, right? It's so beautiful to see this happening. I want to thank all of our elected representatives. It's so rewarding after this long, crazy year of fighting for our college, fighting for City College of San Francisco, which I would have never in my wildest dreams would even think that anyone would even say that this college should be closed or even be on show cause. So a little bit about my background. I grew up here in San Francisco, and I was raised here in San Francisco and surrounded by violence and drugs. And after going through many high schools, and not succeeding, I finally found a good continuation school where I graduated, and my next best step was to come to City College of San Francisco, which I know is true for a lot of folks in this community, whether it's immigrant folks, whether it's single mothers, people coming out of the jails, folks who want to retrain for a new career. This is our lifeline, and that's where I'm sitting up here and bringing that to you guys, because this is about the students. How many students are in the room today? Raise your hands. Yeah! Give it up for the students. What have we seen over the past year? We have seen a dismantling of our school. We've seen a downsizing of our mission. We've seen lifelong learning, cultural enrichment, civic engagement removed from our mission statement. Boo, right? It's not right. We've seen 17% of ESL cut. That's English as a Second Language Studies cut. Our diversity departments consolidated. All of our part-time counselors cut. We've seen that business model structure that they are so hell-bent on implementing across the state. They are trying to do it here at City College of San Francisco. And you know what? We're not going to let them do it, right? We're not going to let it happen. So is ACCJC accountable? I think not. What happened when we went to Burlingame, California to go and testify in front of their body to say, how much we want to see our college stay open? What do? They shut the door. They shut the door to 200 folks. It was a 200-person seating room, and they only let 20 people in. Is that accountability? No. They wouldn't even listen to our voices. We are being told, this entire campus community, to live in silence and live in fear, and that if we speak any negativity about the ACCJC, it's going to be big trouble and our school's going to be shut down. Is that accountability? No. We're seeing that Prop A and Prop 30 are being tucked into a reserve instead of being used for education, what the voters intended that money to be used for. Is that accountability? No. So I encourage all of our campus community to get up and to speak out. Speak out to our elected representatives here to let them know exactly what we've been experiencing. It has been a year of terror for all of us. And I mean, to have the burden of wanting to save this school on your shoulders, it's a horrible thought that 85,000 students would not be allowed to have this pathway to higher education. This is so critical for all of us. Also for our veterans. We have the largest veterans center in the country. What about our armed forces that have served our country? We're going to do that to them? No. And we won't let it happen, and it's so beautiful to see this happening. Thank you, guys.
You may see this as a heavy burden coming in as the student trustee, but I think the university thinks that it's in very good hands having you on that. Raphael Mandelman. He's a member of the City College Board of Trustees.
Last November, just about a year ago exactly, 96,053 San Franciscans voted to elect me to help govern City College of San Francisco. Who's counting? I see my colleague Lydia Greer here, and I want to thank her for being here. It's been quite a ride, and things have not turned out exactly as intended. But I do want to begin by expressing my deep and sincere thanks to Congresswoman Spear, Congresswoman Eshoo, Senator Beal, and Assemblyman Amiano for your courage and fortitude in taking on this difficult issue. And I want to thank your staff for the extraordinary work they're doing as well. Accreditation is complicated. There are a cacophony of voices calling on you to do different things or to do nothing at all. And many of your colleagues would be much happier if the issues we are talking about today would just go away. Unfortunately, I fear that they will not go away on their own, not before significant damage has been done to California's community colleges, and so I again want to thank you for your willingness to take a closer look. I'm here to tell you that City College of San Francisco, the students who attend it, the faculty and staff who keep it running, and the voters and taxpayers who support it have been wronged. In the short period of time between my taking office in January and the ACCJC's July announcement it would be terminating City College's accreditation and the subsequent suspension of the Board of Trustees, I went through a relatively rapid evolution from ACCJC agnostic to skeptic to foe. When I was first elected, there were those who told me the ACCJC was not treating City College fairly, that City College had never been put on show cause in the first place. And I would listen and nod, but in my mind at the time, I wasn't sure what difference any of it made. After all, there were things that needed fixing at City College pretty clearly, and at least some of the changes the ACCJC was recommending seemed like good ones to me. I naively believed that if the college proceeded diligently to respond to the recommendations of the ACCJC, that they wouldn't ever move to terminate City College's accreditation. And City College was responding rapidly. The board, which had been incredibly fractious and divided before, was transforming itself, if not into a model of harmony, into a far more harmonious body. And furthermore, following the ACCJC's actions to impose the show cause sanction, the Board of Trustees had voluntarily requested appointment of a special trustee who would have the authority to overrule any board action he deemed contrary to accreditation, and he never had to exercise that authority. The mission statement was revised in ways that were troubling to many, seeming to signal an abandonment or at least de-emphasis of the college's commitment to lifelong learning. Student learning outcomes, as you've heard about, were developed and measured rigorously and uniformly throughout the college, and the college undertook a large-scale administrative reorganization in the areas of academics and student affairs. 2 weeks before the ACCJC announced its decision to terminate the City College's accreditation, the board approved a budget for the 2013-14 fiscal year that included a 5% cut to faculty salaries, but had a $2 million surplus and made significant new investments in technology, brought the college's reserves back up to a level deemed healthy by the State Chancellor's Office. Even if, as we all hope they do, the ACCJC moves to restore City College's accreditation at some point before July 2014, the damage done to City College it has been enormous. Yes. By next summer, the 2-year decline in enrollment at City College, as you have heard, could be as great as 20 or 25%. And as a consequence, the college may be facing a funding shortfall of upwards of $20 million. There was no financial crisis here at City College in June. There is one now. And what of the consequences to the thousands of students who have not enrolled in City College based on the news we would be closing and who you pointed out do not seem to be enrolling in neighboring institutions? Meanwhile, the nonprofits and businesses that partner with and rely on City College have had to face the possibility that this critical institution would not be around in July. And I know from conversations with them that they've begun to look to partner with other institutions. The reform of City College, which is the ostensible goal of ACCJC's actions, has itself been compromised as the college attempts to execute a full-scale administrative reorganization in an environment of uncertainty and low morale that's driving good people away and discouraging excellent candidates from coming. And of course, all this is occurring without any input from the people who were elected by the voters to govern City College, and we believe that's at the direction of the ACCJC. This is no way to fix an institution. I do not question the value of peer accreditation, and I certainly do not support lowering standards. But the hubristic and overreaching approach of the ACCJC, as it is currently run, has been profoundly harmful to City College of San Francisco. And I want to thank you again for stepping forward and call on your colleagues to do the same.
has a question.
Thank you, Jackie. I'd like to just put the following question out, and that is for this, 7 or 8 member board. How are they paid? How are they funded? Who determines what they're paid? And are these all, well, I'm assuming they're tax dollars, because those that are being reviewed to be accredited, do you pay, Ron, to be accredited?
I'll answer that question.
Okay.
First of all, there's a churning too that goes on. You pay a fee, but when they visit you again, you pay another fee. When they come back, you pay another fee. So
And what are those fees
they're
like?
fairly substantial. I mean, they vary depending on the institution, but they're tens of thousands of dollars each time, and that's really almost dwarfed in the hundreds of thousands and millions that are spent preparing and doing these reports time and time again and hiring consultants. But so the commissioners, there's 19 of them, they're not paid, but the executive director that was now called president, I think she's paid well into the $300,000 range, more than I think every chancellor in the state. That's her compensation.
I'll be turned out, maybe I can take it.
It was so in a lawsuit, there was in a lawsuit, I don't know which one, if it was cities or a few other lawsuits, they spelled out 2 things that I thought were alarming. One, that pay, but the second thing is that they're a not-for-profit organization. That's how they're structured. Yet, I think one year they showed a 29% profit, and another year they had multiple double-digit profits as well. And I guess my fundamental question is, if you charge these institutions and you came up with a 29% profit, wouldn't you rebate that 29% back ratably to those colleges? And I think their explanation was that WASC, who sits over them, may have used some of those resources for their needs as well. But if you look at WASC comparatively, and this is in the lawsuit, they were running like a 1 or 2% margin, where they were in the 20s.
Okay, thank you.